Hey guys, welcome to Just Be Handy, and thanks for joining me for this edition of doing a transmission fluid change on a Subaru Outback 2017, but it is for the 5th generation Outback. And all the things that you will look at here are going to be similar to most 4-cylinder Subarus that use the CVTF-II fluid from Subaru. Now, just to show you, Subaru has their own fluid, and they use Idemitsu to make their fluid. I went ahead and bought the Idemitsu Subaru II fluid, as you can see here, and it has all the things that it needs. It's green, it's all the things that Subaru fluid is. And they may also add other additives to it that are good. So I'm just saying it's as good, if not better, than the Subaru fluid. In my opinion, you can test it out yourself. I will be taking an oil sample, and then the next fluid change, I'll take another oil sample to see if there's any difference in additives from there. Also, what you'll need is some type of way to get the transmission temperature. You could use an OBD2 or a infrared thermometer to get the temperature that of the pan. You want to shoot for about 95 degrees, no more than 113 when you're doing the fill. You will also need an 8mm hex for taking out the fill plug, 14mm socket to take out the drain plug, some gaskets. These are for the fill plug, and you will be torquing that to 37 foot-pounds. This is for the drain plug. It's the same as the regular oil drain plug, and those will be torqued to 23 foot-pounds. This gasket would end in 16010, and the big gasket for the fill plug ends in 18060. And I'll have all this in the description below. Other things that you'll need is a torque wrench, a longer handle wrench to get the the fill plug out. It's usually in there fairly good, or you could get a breaker bar. I'm going to go the method of gravity for filling the transmission, so I went ahead and purchased a 4-foot long hose to go along with this funnel. I'll be able to put the funnel in this general area by the brake reservoir and feed it into the transmission while I am checking to see if it's dripping out. There's a good visual of that, and I'll show you that later. Something to clean up the mess that happens, like a brake cleaner. That's usually a good solvent. And then you'll want a good drain pan. This one's about 7 quarts, and then I can also measure what comes out. Another thing to keep in mind is with these vehicles, they have the valve body for the CVT up here, right by the throttle body, and underneath that firewall. So that holds about a quart of fluid up here that you want drained out. So I like to do my transmission change or drain cold, so I get the most amount of fluid out. Gravity drains it overnight. It's all sitting in the pan. Only half the fluid is going to come out. I think it uses 11.5 quarts, but you'll only get about 5.5 quarts out. When you go to fill it cold, you'll only be able to get about 4 quarts out. You need the engine running. You need everything to temp so that the little pump in there can pump up fluid to the valve body. So that is really important to keep in mind, why you need to fill this while the engine is running. Later on we'll show that, but you want to make sure that valve body is got fluid all around it, and you will fill it to the right level. So again, you'll need it running to fill it, and you'll need it to temperature, as Subaru suggests, between 95 and 113 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's one of the main reasons why. You want to make sure that cavity is full, no air bubbles and so on. That's why we'll go through that process. Again, you'll see we'll probably drain about 5.5 quarts. We'll only be able to get 4 quarts in there. That's why I have 6 quarts of fluid here. And we'll get started and show you the next steps. And just to show you what I did to keep everything level, I drove the vehicle up on these homemade ramps. The rear ones are 2x8s, and I stacked them 3 high. And the front ones, these are older. I had 2x6s when I used to have a little Honda Civic. Those worked great because the tire wasn't wide enough, but this works well. So these also have a stop for the front wheels, and so this keeps the vehicle level. And then I have something to slide in and out on that keeps everything easier for me to work on. The sticker on this really works well. So anyways, that's what I did overnight. It sat on these basically ramps that are homemade. You could make the same yourself, pretty easy. And it's easy on and off for the vehicle. Alright guys, I had to revert to a breaker bar to get that loose. I could not get it loose with this length of a ratchet. So I would recommend getting either a pipe to put on your ratchet if you don't have a breaker bar, or get a breaker bar, because it was very difficult to get off. Alright, now you always want to make sure you get your fill plug open, because if you can't, how are you going to fill the transmission? So I hope that helps. Alright, we'll go and get this plug out, see what comes out, and then we'll go for the drain plug. And like I said, I'm expecting about a quart, maybe 1.5 quarts just from this, because this is all the fluid that would be up in that valve body coming out. And then you'll have the level of fluid here. It's not that it's over full. This is just what would be in the valve body in suspension when the engine is running. Alright, we'll see how much we get here. It should be about a quart, 1.5 quarts. And we'll make sure we get as much in when it's running. Alright guys, I let it drain for a while. I went and got a cup of coffee and cleaned the hoses that I'm going to use to do the fill. But as you can see, we're almost about 1 3/4 quarts. And that's usually what's in suspension when the engine is running and that transmission pump is pumping fluid throughout the system. So we can't neglect that. That needs to be above that fill plug and the level that the fill plug is at. So we definitely need to make sure we do this procedure correctly per Subaru's requirement, which is get the engine up to temperature, which is 95 degrees Fahrenheit to 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and then go through the gears, reverse, neutral, drive, back and forth a few times, and make sure everything's in suspension, and then fill it while it's running so that we get the proper level in there. Okay, that came off easy. we'll get our sample bottle ready. I did not drain that, so I know the total amount of fluid that's going to come out. All right, we'll let it drain, and then we'll clean the plugs off. Here's the sample bottle ready to go. All right, now we're down to just a drip here. I've got a new crush gasket on there, and just start installing that. There we go. I'll go a little hand tight first, and then we'll use a torque wrench to 23 foot-pounds. All right, that's 23 foot-pounds. Clean off the area a little bit. There we go. About 4.5 quarts, maybe 4 3/4. There you go. So about 4.5 quarts. All right, guys, I am doing this coffee filter on a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to see what I can capture out of this transmission fluid that I took out. This is the first time the transmission fluid has been changed on it, so this is factory fill, and we'll see what we get here. And I'll just let it drain for a while. And this is just a good checking point to see how it matches with the oil sample that we'll send in. So this may take a while, and I won't bore you with it, but I'll just keep it going. And again, this is a industrial size coffee filter for those big Braun coffee makers. It fits over a 5-gallon bucket. I can put it in the description below. It'll probably take a good hour or so for me to do this, but I thought you'd want to see what was going on with the first factory fill and how much dirt you get out of the transmission. And I have about 57,000 miles on the vehicle right now, so this is the kind of stuff that you might see in the fluid. Alright guys, I just want to show you how I clean the funnel and the hose. I put the new hose on, I measured it out to go into the fill plug. It came out to about 3 3/4 feet, so it was a good thing I got 4 foot. Now I put fresh fluid in here after cleaning all this with a brake parts cleaner and blowing the line out. And the filter, I cleaned the funnel and the filter in the funnel with brake parts cleaner, blew everything out. Alright, I got that hose here. Now I'm going to open this valve up, let some fluid come into the hose, and you can see the line is full. Now I can go back and forth, make sure fresh fluid, transmission fluid is in the line. There you go. And then let that all come out. And that cleans up the line fairly well so that you don't have any contaminants in the line. Alright, hope that helps. Alright guys, I got the pan emptied out. It's draining in here. So we'll let this go while we continue our job. Alright guys, this is where I was able to put the funnel. You can see there's a bracket supporting it here, the fuse box supporting it, and then the hose goes down through here to where the fill plug is. You see how the hose is down here? I'll have plenty of room to put this in. I'm going to take this plug out and just feed the hose in, but I'm going to clean it first because I don't know if any debris got onto the hose while I was sliding it in. But as you can see, this is the routing I chose, right by the steering knuckle down to where the cooler lines are here, and then it'll just come right in to the fill plug right in here. And then we'll just I'll have good line of sight to it from over there because I'll have a light shining on it. I'll have the pan underneath. Okay, I've removed the fill plug. I have a little brake parts cleaner here. I have a clean rag. I'm going to take this off. Easier said than done. Okay, let all that fluid that was in there out. Then we'll spray the hose with brake parts and wipe it off. Okay, now we'll feed this line into that fill plug. There's a little bit of room in here after getting this hose in, but it may not drip out. But what we can do is watch to see if there's any standing fluid in the pipe, in the hose. But we'll be doing it little by little, and we have good visual to it from up there. So we'll continue keeping this light on from down here, like this. And then just watch for the fluid to fill. Okay, so we can definitely open and close the valve from here, and I have a visual of the hose that I can see it. So I'm going to open it now, take this lid off because I kept everything clean, and then start feeding this in. We only want to put in about I would say 2.5 quarts and see what's going on, and then stop at that point and double check. Also, we want to make sure we're not spilling it out, which we did by putting that hose in fairly well. So 2.5 quart mark on this jug is going to be midway, basically, because it's 5 quarts. So when it's midway, we'll stop and look. Here we go. And just take it easy. This is not a race. And I can see it going down and in to the transmission without any issue. And it just smells like regular transmission fluid. Just has a clear green tint to it, minty. All right, we're almost to that 3 quart mark, which means that we would have put in 2 quarts in there once we reach that mark. Okay, now we're at that 2.5 quart mark. This is where we're going to stop and pull the hose out of the plug. So I'm going to cover this up after it's done draining all the way, so we don't stop it from draining. And I want to keep the debris out. Okay, I'll just loosely put it on so it can definitely suck air through if it needs to and finish draining. So let's go down at the bottom and see what we've got so far. Now you could better see what I was seeing. There's the hose going into the fill plug. You could see there is some fluid in it with an air bubble. So I think because my hose is a little too long, it didn't all drain into it, but also it's going flat. So I'll check out how much fluid is really in the line from down there. But again, this is all gravity fed. Okay, all I had to do was kind of push the line back so that it had a good angle and it all drained in. So I'm just going to go back to the top and keep filling it till I see fluid standing in the line or I get a drip. But you saw how I could tell what's going on with it. So just I had to reposition it. Alright guys, this is what it looks like when it's full to that level. You've got some standing fluid in here and it drips a drip or two. So we'll just try to get it all in and it comes back out. You see that? I hope you guys are learning something here on how you could do it with this tube. I'm sorry I don't have the greatest lighting, low budget here, but I hope you're learning quite a bit. Again, I push the fluid in, comes back out in the tube. I'm going to end up losing that much fluid. So here it goes. Alright, so now we can just put in that plug and then run the engine and go through the gears, because we know it's full to when it's cold and without it circulating, right? So we did lose some fluid, but that's not a big deal. We still have over 1.5 quart left, so we can definitely top it off. And it looks like it's going to be close to that 5 quart limit. Alright, so let's go do that procedure right now, and we'll do it with both methods, with checking the pan temperature, and I'll show you the OBD2 reader for the temperature as well. Just so you can see, this is how much is left. We have about 1.5 quart. I think it'll take about 1 quart and then we will be full. So let's go ahead and do this procedure. I have my OBD2 reader here and I have my thermal gun right close to where I need them to be so I could reach for them, and we'll get started with this. Guys, one of the things that you need to do when you start your vehicle is make sure you have good ventilation. I have a 15-foot door here, but I'm still pointing a fan at the highest speed it has towards the exhaust so that it pushes the exhaust out as much as possible. I should have probably been back further in the garage, but I have good ventilation here. I can run this thing for a while. So anyways, make sure you have good ventilation, please. Even have a carbon monoxide detector if possible, just to make sure that you're not reaching limits. Alright guys, I have some disappointing news. I tried Car Scanner and Blue Driver and they both don't have transmission temperature. Car Scanner used to have it, but they took it away so that you have to pay to get it, and Blue Driver said they don't support it but will if enough people tell them that it's needed. So I guess I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, infrared at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The fluid temperature is usually going to be more. So right now what we're doing, and as you can see I have 57,000 miles on it, I'm going to have the brake on. I do have the e-brake on regardless. We let it run for a minute, then we're going to go reverse and wait, and it's going to get the fluid circulating there. Go neutral. Meantime, always have your foot on the brake. Then go drive. And then let's do that about 2 to 3 times here to get the fluid circulating. Go down, check the temperature, and keep it running till we get 95 degrees. So neutral, drive, reverse, park, reverse, neutral, drive. Just do this a few times here. Okay, now let's put it in park. Also make sure that brake is on and get a temperature with this infrared thermometer. Okay guys, we are getting close to that we are at 95 here, 94. So let's get ready and put the hose in, and by that time it should be a good steady 95. So let's remove this plug. And then we'll put the hose back in. And we'll go up and start filling until it drips out or it comes back down out that tube. So we're almost there, guys. So once we see fluid in this tube, we know we'll be done. It should be another quart maybe, but we'll go half quart watch and then half quart watch and so on, so we don't waste too much fluid. You can't stop this engine from running or it'll all come right out. It's at 103, 105, so we want to do it before it hits 113 here. Well guys, you see it drips a little bit. It took all 5 quarts. I'm going to pull this hose out. And there you can see it's coming out a little bit. Took all 5 quarts in there. And that's pretty good. I'm going to put that plug in right away. We'll wait for it just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to put that plug with a new gasket on. All right. And then we'll clean up everything and then torque it down to 37 foot-pounds. Watch out for the exhaust so you don't burn yourself. It's very close to the working area, and so you definitely need to be careful of the exhaust. So I'm setting the torque wrench to 37 foot-pounds. There we go. That's 37 foot-pounds. And then we need to get everything wiped down, make sure we don't have any leaks. Maybe spray it a little bit more. There we go. All right, everything is drying up pretty nice. I think we're all set. All right, guys, this is what I found at the bottom after everything drained. There is a little bit of gasket material here. There is 1 or 2 little metal shavings. This is more gasket material. But actually it looks fairly clean. So they do a good job of cleaning these transmissions, other than a little bit of gasket material that I'm seeing. So 57,000 miles. This is the first drain and fill, and everything is looking good. All right, guys, give us a thumbs up if you liked everything we did here. We're done with this transmission service of drain and fill, and I will have everything down in the description below. And I will definitely send out that oil sample, so let me know what your thoughts are.